a visitor's visa, a tourist visa, you have a U.S. citizen child, can't petition for you. If you're in this country, well, you get your affairs in order and work with us and get yourself to move in this country. That's what the law requires, and we're going to enforce that law.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. You can get back to work now. Look, he's already leaving. He's got a lot to do, a lot of illegal immigrants to deport. But thanks, everyone, for joining us bright and early this morning. As I said at the top, we will do this again tomorrow to talk about the economy, which is another promise made and kept by the president. And I'll be joined by the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, 8:30 tomorrow morning. Today, the president is welcoming Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles. If you have any Philly fans, that will be at 4 o'clock. And then the president will...
Woohoo! Over here. Philly fans.
At 5 p.m. So we'll see you all later. Have a great day.
I had to share this with you this morning. I was watching it. I'm sorry I caught it a little late, but I just had to listen to Tom Holman. He's one of the best Borderzars ever. You know, Tom don't be playing. He is the Terminator. He's the Punisher. And he worked under the Obama administration as well, and he done a wonderful job. This man deserved his accolades while we still got him as our Borderzar here in the United States of America. So I just had to share that with you all here. He's here giving his oh, it's coming back. They're gonna do a rerun. Okay, great. So I'm probably going to let y'all listen to it. Tom Holman is one of the best. So I just wanted those people that did elect him or whatever. And I just wanted to just give him his accolades if he ever come across this video. You know, we American people, we got to also help the clean up this crisis we have right now in this illegal system that we dealing with, the illegal crisis we're dealing with here in the United States of America. I said this ain't only just about the Mexicans. This is about anybody that's here in the United States of America working with false, fake IDs. Also out here terrorizing the sanctioned cities and partakers of these riots and these violent riots that they're having out in the city of Los Angeles, California, also in New York. I'm a New Yorker, born native New Yorker. Also those who are also terrorizing people in Chicago and all these other places. You gotta get in it to win it. I'm sorry. If I find out if there's any place that seems suspicious to me, I will. Hey Renix 365, how are you? Yes, isn't he the best Borderzar? I like Tom. I like him. He just be like, look, I'm giving you a choice. You either can voluntarily leave, or if we have to come and get you, it ain't going to be beautiful. Okay, he laid it out on you on the table. They held this press conference and everything else at the White House with the press secretary, with the White House secretary, Carolyn Levitt. This is a very special press briefing. You know, American citizens got to get involved. You know, this is really hurting everybody. Okay, it's not only just going to affect those who live in the city of Los Angeles and all these places that all these riots and all this terrorism is taking place. Is going to get worse. So we have to get involved. They are not telling people that just because you come from another place, you can't become a natural citizen here in the United States. But there is a process. You have outworn or outstayed your welcome here. It is getting out of control. Americans are out of jobs. I think I shared with you yesterday how they had to go into some of these businesses and companies, and Homeland Security had to come in, ICE. These agencies had to come in and find out there were so many illegal employees, and a lot of American citizens of out of work because of this. And they could be even using your identity. You don't even know. He is straight to the point. And I'm just saying, I'm celebrating this man while he's still here with us. Only God knows. You know, life. Just this morning, I got the news that 264 passengers on a plane, and not even the fatality of the people that the plane hit. This I think it was a school or something out in India. They went on their flight, and these people are gone just like that. Don't take life for granted. So right now, I am celebrating Tom Holman. I think he's doing a wonderful job, and I support ICE for what they're doing. And I'm not getting involved with all these other. Not making this a race thing. It's not about race. This is about America. It's about the American people, and the American people. We all got to fight for our freedom in America. Fight for our freedom here and our everything that we have here. We want to continue to be our home and the place that our ancestors from all different places of different ethnicity or culture background, we are melting pot. That's why I said this morning we need to go back to American history so everybody can understand what American history is. Everybody took part in this melting pot to build this beautiful land here of America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. Okay, and we want to keep America safe. We got to get rid of these criminals that's coming over here breaking the law. They broke the law when they came here illegally, and you got to get educated about this. Don't get caught up in these protests with these way left liberals and these crazy radicals or whatever they might be. And now that I think about it, I was listening to a channel this morning. I think I gotta go back to it so you can hear what he's saying. Because I was like, why the police ain't being more aggressive? Why they not moving? Why they not doing this? Because the crowd was too large and they have to be very strategic of how they have to do things to see who is a part of it and who's just there just to get footage or whatever they doing before they get too aggressive, to know who. And the more it goes on, the sooner or later you see how the crowd would slow down and people would start not being there, get lesser and lesser. Believe it or not, it's not as many people as you think are part of these protests. Some of these people that just because you see a large crowd sometimes in the beginning of everything, these are just people that just want something to do or something to be a part of or whatever. But then they have other things they got to move on. Okay? And then there are some who are really there making trouble in the city of LA in the places that these riots and these protests are going on. So that's why they wasn't being so aggressive. You don't want to take innocent people into custody, or you don't want to cause harm to the innocent people that are there. They just there, that are just there. So I got that more understanding of why they wasn't moving. And then on top of that, this woman trying to make it sound like she tweeted something about thanking Gavin for getting this thing under control, which is a lie. And then on top of that, she said something about that the troops are not in LA. They are in LA and they are working undercover, but they can't use right now a certain tech. They can't use their what you call it. They can't use their military duties to do domestic what they doing now as serving as police officers. They can't use they marine tactics while they working in the police force, helping out while they working as police officers. They serving as police officers now. They not active on duty as to be a Marine, but the Marines are in the police force as well. But they got help and backup if they need it to come in if it still continues to go on with the crowds and all the craziness, and if it still stay like it was on last week. Saturday when Friday, I believe it started, and then it escalated all the way up until this week. But things are getting a little bit more calmer now, and they got things a little bit more under control now. But if they do start their stuff, because they setting it up for June 14th, which should be, I believe, this weekend, on Saturday, that they saying President Trump is trying to use. First of all, the president got to be protected. Okay? With people out here having protests about overturning him and all this other crazy stuff that people are doing, distracting the president or making threats to the president, and his life is in jeopardy or whatever, they have to use military to protect the president. Okay, there's nothing illegal about that. But celebrating his birthday, but he's not. People got it all messed up that he's celebrating his birthday. He's not celebrating his birthday. He's having this day or whatever like that is on his birthday. Something that he's doing for the military or something other thing that is going on. But I think it's Flag Day or something a sort of that nature is falling on June 14th or whatever. So his birthday is on that day. So while he's doing his job as president, serving as president of the United States, which is on his birthday, that's the day that we could acknowledge that it's his day of his birthday. So these people got all this stuff going on, these rumors going on about the president going to be using the military for his birthday and da 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 da. No, he's using them for military active duty. Okay, just in case anything is going on that day when he's out there for the public, in the public, or serving his duty as a president, because the president never rests. When we all seen that, President Trump does not ever rest because he's always on call. Something is going on, either something going on foreign or domestic, and he always got to stay up. And he don't get a day to just sit home and just have a day of his birthday off duty while all of this stuff is taking place in the United States. All these protests and these terrorism, the domestic terrorism is taking. I call it domestic terrorism. Cause ain't nothing. That wasn't a protest. That wasn't no peaceful protest. That's domestic terrorism. Burning cars, burning flags, and desecrating, the federal property, doing graffiti, and throwing. And actually, somebody was trying to take a firecracker and shoot it up at the airplane. And that's illegal. That's dangerous. Making Molotov cocktails and all this other stuff, destroying this beautiful place, America, destroying California. That is so crazy. You know, they waving a flag that they don't even want to be in the country that they waving the flag for. They can go back. Like Tom Holman said. Let's go back to Tom Holman. He's talking now. They doing a remake. Some of you might be watching it right now, but I'm showing it here on my channel. Let me go back to Tom Holman.
Precedent success. The border secure. President Trump saving lives. President Trump has proven no one does it better than President Trump. There is no equal, it's not even close. So God bless the men and women of the Border Patrol. God bless the men and women of ICE who strap a gun to their hip every day, put on a Kevlar vest to not only secure our border and protect our national security, but the ICE agents in the interior, they're removing public safety threats and national security threats every day. While you're all sleeping at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning,
That's
there are
true.
men and women out there enforcing the law and making this country safe again.
Yes.
And we're going to keep doing it. It's full speed ahead. So I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom, and thanks for all your great efforts. We do want to open it up to questions. If you have border-related questions for Mr. Holman, and I'm also happy to take any non-border-related questions. I'm happy to take border questions too, but Tom is here offering his time.
They cannot
so
hide.
To ask him questions. We'll start with our new media seat today. As always, Rogan O'Hanley.
Hey, Frankie, I'm glad to see you.
I didn't know that, Rogan, who got fed up with the far-left ideologies of California and now posts conservative political commentary online for his more than 7 million followers across all major platforms. He joins us today from the great state of Florida. Why don't you kick us off today, Rogan?
Thank you, Caroline. In Trump's first 99 days, we've seen a coordinated assault on the rule of law by radical judges. We're thwarting his agenda with an unprecedented number of national injunctions. These judges are providing more due process to violent MS-13 and Tren de Aragua illegal aliens than they did for American citizens who peacefully protested on January 6th. As Stephen Miller has highlighted, it would be utterly ridiculous to have full trials and appeals.
I'm so tired of hearing about January 6th.
Illegal aliens that came across our border under Joe Biden. Many are now calling for Trump to circumvent these radical judges and consider suspending the writ of habeas corpus solely for these illegal aliens in accordance with the terms of Article 1, Section 9 of the United States Constitution, which explicitly allows for such a measure when there is a rebellion or invasion. There's strong precedent for this action, being that it was exercised by 3 of our greatest presidents, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, and Democrats' favorite president of all time,
American history need to be taught back in school, y'all.
All 3 of which are not only celebrated by historians, but are immortalized on our national currency.
We need to get stricter.
Furthermore, all three used it against American citizens, where in this instance we would only be using it against illegal aliens. I think almost every reasonable American would agree that 15 million illegal aliens coming across our border under Joe Biden counts as an invasion, especially since many, as you highlighted, are now robbing, assaulting, raping, and killing American citizens.
Yes.
Historic assaults on our republic require reciprocal action from our government. Can you please let us know if and when the Trump administration is planning to suspend the writ of habeas corpus to circumvent these radical judges who are infringing on his Article
These
2
judges
power
gotta go.
to start shipping out illegals en masse?
I have not heard such discussions take place, but I can assure you that the president and the entire administration are certainly open to all legal and constitutional remedies to ensure we can continue with the promise of deporting illegal criminals from our nation's borders. And I also agree with the premise of your question, which doesn't happen in this room often, but I do agree with yours. It is absurd that the previous administration was allowed to allow 15 million that we know about illegal aliens into this country.
Well, they multiplied
very
since
little
then.
pushback from our judicial branch. But this president is trying to simply enforce our nation's immigration laws and is facing roadblock after roadblock. So we're compliant with court orders, but as Tom Holman has said every day, we're going to continue to forge ahead with this mass deportation campaign, and the president is open to all remedies to do that. Thanks for being here today, Rogan.
If I can also answer your question, as far as the judges, look, we just arrested a judge, Pam Bondi, for impeding ICE enforcement removals. I said from day one, you don't have to support ICE's operations. You can support sanctuary cities if that's what you desire to do. Sanctuary cities can stand aside and watch ICE keep their community safe. Because any public official, whether you're mayor, city councilman, or governor, their number one responsibility is protection of communities. And ICE has been clear, we're targeting public safety threats and national security threats. I can't believe there's any elected official, and especially a judge, that doesn't believe we should be doing that, and they should be helping us. But I said from day one, you can sit aside and watch, you can argue against us all you want and protest all you want, but when you cross that line, I've said this 1,000 times,
Yes,
when you cross that line to impediment or knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien from ICE, you will be prosecuted, judge or not. And as far as releasing so many people, you know why the Biden administration released millions of people in the United States? No one ever talks about it. I'll talk about it. Why did they release people into the interior United States and put them, rather than put them into an ice bed? Why not put them in an empty ice bed, $127 a night, rather than in a hotel room at $500 a night? They did it on purpose, because when you put them in an ice detention bed, they get a hearing in 35 days. Court records show 9 out of 10 people claim asylum, get order removal, they're gone. But if you release them and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night,
Yep.
their hearings could be 5, 7, 9 years.
It could be a long
What
time.
are they hoping for that?
Amnesty.
Another Democrat administration's in power. They can award an amnesty to millions.
Yep.
This is about selling this country off for future political power.
Yep.
That's what it was.
That's what it
The law
was.
clearly says, if you arrive at our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, shall. And that's what President Trump's doing. Catch and release is over. That's what the law says, and that's what we've done.
That's right, Tom.
Aaron.
I agree.
Question on Abrigo Garcia, if I can. The president recently said when it comes to facilitating his release, he's leaving that up to his lawyer. So just to be clear, have there been any negotiations between the U.S. and El Salvador over his release or facilitating his release?
I will tell you what the president of El Salvador told all of you in the Oval Office. El Salvador does not intend to smuggle a designated foreign terrorist back into the United States. He is an El Salvadorian national. That is his home country. That is where he belongs. And
Hey, Des, I'm
the
not mad about it either,
administration
girl.
intends to comply with what President Bukele said of El Salvador. He does not intend to send that
Stop
individual
using
back.
January 6th as an excuse.
What I have
Those
told
people
you
were
is that
prosecuted
the President of El Salvador has
for
made
what
this
they
quite
did.
clear. Kate.
Carolyn, can you tell
Even
us
if they
more
got a
about
part and they were
President
prosecuted.
Trump and President Zelensky over the weekend? Did that meeting change anything? Did Trump leave that meeting thinking any differently about negotiations and next steps on this?
Look, the president talked about this after the meeting himself yesterday when he took questions from reporters on Air Force One. He thinks that he is increasingly frustrated with leaders of both countries. He wants to see a permanent ceasefire. I understand Vladimir Putin this morning offered a temporary ceasefire. The president has made it clear he wants to see a permanent ceasefire first to stop the killing, stop the bloodshed. And while he remains optimistic he can strike a deal, he's also being realistic as well. And both leaders need to come to the table to negotiate their way out of this. And I do think that the president meeting with President Zelensky shows that he is exuding a lot of effort and time into this because he wants to be a peacemaker president, which he was in his first term. He intends to do that again. And this is an incredibly difficult situation and conflict that President Trump inherited from President Biden, who allowed this war to start in the first place, but he's focused on solving this problem. Does anyone have border questions? Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Caroline. If border crossings are at a record low, why should it still be considered an emergency?
It's because of what has happened in the last administration. We got to ensure that not one
Exactly.
comes across the corner.
Thank you, Desiree. That's so
The
true.
president declared the cartels of Mexico a terrorist organization along with MS-13 TDA. They killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined.
They sure
It's an
have.
emergency till we shut it down. It's
James
an
Fuller
emergency till the
Robinson.
cartels are wiped off the face of this earth. President Trump's committed to saving
They
everyone.
killed Americans
I just mentioned
in vacation in Mexico.
Gotaways 38 yesterday.
Okay.
Who are the Gotaways?
Y'all better pay
Where do
attention.
they come from? We had over 2 million gotaways under Joe Biden's administration. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Under the Biden administration, you pay a cartel this amount of money to cross the border. Cartel's job ends at the border. Just turn yourself in a green uniform. Get released in 24 hours. Get a free airline ticket to the city of your choice. Get a free hotel room. Get 3 meals a day. Get free medical care. Get work authorization in 90 to 120 days, which is a real
Des, she did go through the process. As long as she was married to President Trump and her paperwork was in place, she did go through the process, okay? But if it was some other way, like if she was to come here to the United States and just to get her papers and everything and left and moved on with her life, that's illegal. But she's still with her husband, and believe it or not, she had to update her status and everything had to be checked out with her too. She ain't nobody getting by becoming a citizen of the United States, just getting married to somebody in the United States. She had to go through the process. They had to make sure she wasn't part of any kind of terrorist group or anything of that nature, and her status had to be also checked out. And her being married to a person like President Trump, believe me, they checked her out. So she's not illegal. She's a legal immigrant to the United States by her husband, who's actually her sponsor or whoever. Yeah, she's legal because they had to do all that background check. They had to do a background check. See, that's not what they talking about. They talking about people that's here. They don't do no. They ain't got no document, no background check, no nothing. They just here and they could be terrorists. You understand what I'm saying? They could be part of a terrorist gang or a terrorist organization or whatever. This is what they saying. Why they have to vet you to become a citizen of the United States. And even if you only get a temporary status, you have to have your status updated. They have to still do an investigation, even if you get a temporary status to be in the United States for work or whatever. You still have to have your paperwork updated. That's what he's saying. That's why a lot of them, like they saying what the Biden administration did is they allowed these people to come across the border instead of putting them in an ice bin where they could be checked out thoroughly in 30 days by the judge and by the immigration status or whatever like that, and for them to be able to gain status. You saw the movie Scarface, remember? In Scarface, they left them in some kind of concentration camp. It was like concentration. You say concentration, but it was one of those. That's what they call an ice bin. They stay in behind the gate in the place in the United States, but they not officially here yet as citizens. And in order for them to be able to become citizens of the United States of the Americas, they have to get their green card or whatever to be here. Some of them are given a temporary visa to be in the United States if they part of some political party and they attached to some kind of political gang or whatever like that. They cannot be here in the United States. They send them back. They deport them. And what they do is that they have to be at a job or whatever. Once they come here, they have to be on the job, and then that's when they also will be checking them out to make sure that they are in good standard. as they work, and they're not a part of no illegal, no terrorist group, no gangs, no nothing. Watch the movie Scarface so you could get a real good understanding of how he had to go through the process. First, they had them in that place, and in that so-called place, but you had some crooked people that was allowing those Cubans. That's when Castro cleaned out his Cuban jails, and he gave us the dreads of his prisoners and everything, and dumped them in the United States. So some of them was political refugees. Some of them were just not a part of Castro, going with Castro, but they have no record, no nothing, and he just threw them out of Cuba, and they got stuck here in the United States of America, and they was in Florida. And that's how they got over here. Some of them became citizens in the United States of America and in Cuba and Florida and everything. Just do your history and research, and you'll find out more about what they're talking about here, how the immigration worked. When they send in people from other countries and they part of, political terrorism or whatever like that. This is what he's talking about.
Paying for it, as the president said they were going to?
Well, first of all, I'll answer that question because I already answered it in my opening remarks. To date, since January 1st, there's been more than 85 miles of new border wall construction in various stages of that construction.
You could be here willingly, but you got to understand that you could still be here willingly. You get a temporary visa, that is. If you come here with a temporary visa, you have to return back within a certain period of time, or you have to update your status, what's going on, if you're here for work, or whatever like this, or your job or something like that is sponsoring you. Everything has to be updated. You got a timestamp on there. Just like when you go and visit a country overseas, you got a passport. They check your passport. How long you going to stay here? I'll be out in a week. And in that week, you on the plane to leave. You can't overstay the time you're supposed to be there. And a lot of people have overstayed their time, and they hiding, and they still here in the United States of America. They don't want to voluntarily leave. Nobody is sponsoring them. Their jobs are not sponsoring them anymore. They now still here in the United States using false identification. And you got some people that's working with them. Like they had to go inside some of these companies. I just showed you yesterday that they had to go in this company and find all these people hiding and working at this food plant. It's a plant there. They factory workers or places like that on farms and stuff, like farm workers and stuff. They hiding them because these people doing this because they don't want to pay these people health insurance. They don't want to pay them the minimum wage. They paying them lower than the minimum wage, the labor laws, and also they not even looking out for these people's safety. Your food ain't even safe having these people work here and they have no health insurance. You don't know what kind of sickness you could be getting and diseases they bring in on your food that you're eating. Your fruits, your vegetables. Why they be you be hearing all these recalls on things. You don't hear what's going on with the Food and Drug and administration. That's why these laws are put in place to protect you. You don't know what they could be putting in your food. The unhealthy things that could be going inside of your food. And you get in these sicknesses like viruses or whatever that could be passed on. Even to become a citizen of the United States, you have to go through the health department and be checked out if you're not bringing some kind of illness over here to the United States. We seen what we went through the that COVID situation. What happened to us with COVID? We don't know where that was coming from. These people got to have a certain shots for their immune system. You eating their food, you going out there eating from these people, restaurants and everything else like that. You don't know what kind of diseases they could be bringing into your body, into your health. This is for your safety and for your protection. That's why they have to be documented. They have to be checked out. All these things got to be in good standards, in all goods. Even if they freaking attached to some criminal terrorist group.
And play.
Those illegally United States public safety threats were walking through the community. And what happened in Rochester, HSI agent called for emergency assistance. Officers of Rochester PD responded to a call from emergency assistance from a federal law enforcement officer. They responded, then they got disciplined. I don't think anybody can come up with one instance where an ICE agent, a Border Patrol agent, didn't respond to an emergency call from assistance from any law enforcement agency. Cops need to help cops, especially in an emergency situation. But they got disciplined. And I met those officers down in Nashville soon after. I think
This is the first time I ever seen cops work so well.
They did the right thing.
In this riot.
Law enforcement responding to emergency assistance from law enforcement. So I'm going up there to support the men and women of law enforcement. The men and women who carry that badge and gun every day. They're working the streets at 2 a.m. while we're all sleeping. I'm going to give my support, and they just announced a lawsuit, and that's one of many. Sanctuary City is going to be sued in this administration for flouting immigration law. I mean, the law's clear, and they're violating it, and this administration is going to take actions. I'm going up there to show my support of men and women of law enforcement. I started as a cop, and the community. I'm showing support for them, because the community wants their police officers to be officers too. The communities don't want public safety threats walking around their communities either, and that's what it's all about, and that's why I'm going.
Mr. Holman, how close are you to housing migrants at U.S.
Look, I'm not a liberal,
facilities like
and you know, whatever the president is doing to protect my life or to protect me as a citizen and as an American citizen, I'm not gonna go against it. So if you hear you wasting your time telling me that, because a lot of things that President Trump is doing is in the best of the people, because it was the people who spoke. This is the reason why he was voted in, to crack down on the illegal immigration crisis that we have here in the United States. Or he would have never got my vote and a whole lot of other citizens' votes, because it's flooding us. It's hurting our economy here. It's hurting jobs here for the American people that need these jobs, and everything else like that is hurting our lives. Because you don't know who these people are. This ain't got nothing to do with really President Trump. It has to do with my safety. And if he's putting himself out there to use the military or whatever to do to help protect America from what's been going on for the last couple of weeks, this is a frightening thing. This is scary. And it's spreading across every city with these crazy left liberals and their ideology and their crazy ideas of like, oh, just open the borders and let people come in here without having things vetted and without knowing who these people are, and they could just come in, they could rape your daughters, behead your husbands or your men in your family. You don't know what these terrorists are crazy. These people are insane. They don't want to live by no laws. Everything we do is laws put in place for your safety, for your protection. There are laws. And if you're going to have your voice being heard and doing a protest, let it be peaceful. You don't have to go vandalizing property, blowing up cars and flaming up cars and everything, shooting firecrackers up at the planes and doing things to put people's life in danger. Are you serious? This ain't got nothing to do with Trump. I'm looking out for my safety and my life. And do what you got to do.
Laws, and we're happy to provide the text of that executive order, and as I said, the president will be signing it later this afternoon. Sure.
Excuse me, I want to talk about farm workers.
Y'all got an issue with Trump, then that's your problem. But I want my safety.
Undocumented farm workers. I'm wondering, where do things stand?
And I want my freedom.
Does that at all undermine?
I don't want to have to live in terror and fear like that.
For some undocumented people to be in the U.S., but maybe not others.
So the president was referring to our H-1B and H-1A visa programs, and there have been no final decisions on that at all. But the president, I think, what he was intended to speak about, what he was speaking about, is ensuring that we have a clean, legal immigration system that is being respected and obeyed. And the mass amount of illegal immigration that we've seen over the past 4 years in our country completely undermines our legal immigration system, those seeking citizenship, but also those coming here on a visa to legally and lawfully work. And the president wants to make sure that those programs are respected. Reagan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn.
For Tom Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller.
She said it.
Over the weekend, ICE arrested 2 illegal immigrants for allegedly stealing Secretary Noem's purse over the weekend. What can you tell us about these individuals' immigration history as well as their criminal history?
I don't have the criminal history, but I know the one that stole the purse is supposed to be in the country legally. But pick the wrong person to steal first from. I mean, Secretary Noem's a strong secretary. I know I've been talking about the success of men and women of the Border Patrol and ICE, but under her strong leadership, she's a game changer. So I'm happy
Yeah,
to work
she's
with her,
good.
despite the media I've read that me and Christy
Carolyn
Nome
is
are-
good.
The difference is me and Christy Nome are attached at the hip. There's no daylight between us. We're both going to push the president's agenda. She's a strong secretary, and I'm glad she's in here. And I'm glad, but again, that illegal alien,
Better than that last one we had. Oh my
pick
God.
the wrong person, still personal. Tell me.
Mary Margaret, go ahead.
Thank you, Carolyn. I have two questions, one for Mr. Holman, one for you on the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'd like to start with you though, Tom Holman. This list has a very high number of sexual assaults on a child. Can you comment on that and why there's so many crimes against children committed by illegals in this country?
Yes.
I don't know why. It's sick. It's
Yes.
the worst crime in the world. When you sexually assault a child, I mean, the most innocent of us all. But that's why I made a statement that one time I was going to go to Boston, bring hell with me. And the media went crazy. At Tom Holman says, we're going to go to Boston, bring hell with them. I was going to bring hell to illegal aliens that rape children. There's not more of a heinous crime. And as you can see, the amount of child rapists we've arrested under this administration.
Oh my God.
That could have been arrested under the Biden administration. They were out there. They had their final orders. They were out there. But they didn't go look for them. They were too busy releasing millions of illegal aliens in this country. And the numbers prove it. The removal numbers of criminals was the lowest. ICE had the lowest number of removals in the history of ICE under Joe. At the same time, you had historic illegal immigration on the border. ICE had the lowest numbers in the history of the agency. That shows the difference between two administrations. We're looking for every one of them. People want to know, okay, when am I going to retire for the third time? I'll retire when every public safety threat, national security threat, child rape is eradicated from this country. That's when I'll rest.
And then Carolyn, really quick. Alex Thompson said at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I'm going to read his quote, "President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of the party, is capable of deception. We, myself included, miss a lot of this story, and some people trust us less because of it." Can you comment on those remarks and whether you agree with that assessment?
I do agree with that assessment from Alex Thompson, who I understand won an award for writing a story months and perhaps years after the American people already knew that story to be true. Millions of Americans watched our mentally incompetent president struggle with his day-to-day duties of this office. We watched our country be ran into the ground as a result.
Yep.
And nobody in the media wanted to write about that, talk about it. There were many reporters, I will say, right-leaning reporters.
They was getting away doing what they were doing.
Didn't get awards, didn't get coverage. In fact, they were lambasted for their coverage. And I remember being on President Trump's campaign, talking about Joe Biden's clear mental incompetence and being accused by people in this room of manufacturing deep fake videos, trying to persuade the public into not believing what they saw with their own eyes for many years. And I think it's about time
I see you,
that
Frankie.
finally admits that was one of the greatest cover-ups and scandals that ever took place in American history, and certainly it did contribute to the decline in the trust that Americans have for the legacy media. Peter, which, by the way, is why we've made many changes to this briefing room in this White House. It's long overdue. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you. A few things. You guys arrested a Milwaukee County circuit judge for allegedly helping illegal immigrants get away. As you guys look at other judges, would you ever arrest somebody higher up on the judicial food chain, like a federal judge or even a Supreme Court justice?
Well, that's a hypothetical question. Again, I defer you to the Department of Justice for individuals that
Yeah, I
they
know
are
you working,
looking
Frankie.
at
That's
or
why I don't want to
individual
bother you
cases.
too much
But
at
let's
work.
be clear about what this judge did. She obstructed federal law enforcement who were looking for an illegal alien in her courthouse. She showed that illegal alien the door to evade law enforcement officials. That is a clear-cut case of obstruction. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand that. And so anyone who is breaking the law or obstructing federal law enforcement officials from doing their jobs is putting themselves at risk of being prosecuted, absolutely.
You guys have at least 18 written trade proposals. We still don't know who they are from or what they contain. What is the holdup with that?
There's no holdup. We're working around the clock. The trade team is working all day. I was on the phone late last night with Secretary Lutnick. I was on the phone this weekend as well with Secretary Bessent. I mean, the entire team is working 24/7 to get these trade deals done. And I think you'll be hearing more about them this week. I don't want to get ahead of the trade team or the president in announcing potential deals, but certainly I can assure the American public that this administration is full speed ahead in cutting good and fair trade deals on behalf of the American worker.
And one more. After the president's Truth Social post, the Browns finally took Shadur Sanders. Does the president think he deserves credit for Sanders getting picked? And does he think going to the Browns is better than being undrafted?
Hey,
The Philly
all I will
fans.
say
Oh,
is the
God.
president put out a statement, and a few rounds later he was drafted. So I think the facts speak for themselves on that one, Peter. We'll go to the back row in the middle, to the blonde.
Yes.
Hello.
President Trump has said that Secretary Hegseth will get it together. Does he think that Hegseth doesn't have it together right now?
Look, the president has made his position on Secretary Hegseth quite clear. He absolutely has confidence in the secretary's ability to lead the Pentagon. It's why he nominated him for this position. It's why the Senate voted to confirm him in this position. And look at the success that DoD has had thus far. Their successful operation against the Houthi terrorists in the Middle East. You look at the recruitment and retention levels for all branches of our armed forces are on the incline, which is exactly what this president intended to do. Secretary Hegseth has completely wiped out DEI from the Pentagon as well. And so he's going to remain focused on standing up for our war fighters, on implementing President Trump's peace through strength foreign policy agenda abroad, and the president supports him in his role. Sure.
Many are wondering how these 10 or 20 million people are working. Is there some efforts to clamp down on employment because they're working somewhere to keep staying here?
The number of worksite enforcement actions have tripled this year, and it's going to triple again. Because in sanctuary jurisdictions especially, if we can't arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, they're going to release him into the community. That means we go into the community. If we can't arrest them in the community, we'll arrest them at their work site. We got to do what we got to do to arrest public safety threats. There's no sanctuary for public safety threats in this country. So worksite enforcement is going to increase even more than it already has. And another reason for worksite, the last administration stopped worksites. Where's the number one place we find victims of trafficking, victims of forced labor trafficking, and worksites? So not only are we going to enforce the law on worksites, we're going to save victims of trafficking. That's another reason we've increased worksite enforcement.
Yep, they be in these work site places
Go ahead,
and these
Brian. Sure. We'll take one more question.
hotels.
We all walk by these heinous yard signs that are along Pebble Beach.
What happened with Kanika Jenkins?
What is some of the feedback that your ICE agents are getting in the field from the community as they remove these individuals from their families, their neighborhood, their schools, or all the places in their community?
Let Tom
What's
Holman
the
tell you about this
reaction
family
that
stuff
ICE
that they
agents
crying
got
about.
from the people who live amongst these individuals?
You see how these liberals
The
think?
morale of ICE and Border Patrol is at all-time high because they're getting to uphold the oath they took, and they're enforcing the law. Border Patrol and the Biden administration, I met with hundreds of them. They felt like Uber drivers and tourist agents. These men and women join the ranks of ICE and Border Patrol to enforce the law, make the community safer, and protect national security. I hear it all the time. There's a lot of people in this country who don't like me. I don't care.
I
When
like you,
walk through the
Tom,
airport, I
for
have
what you do.
Many people walking up to me and thank me for what I'm doing, and I'm not taking credit for anything. The success of the border and immigration enforcement is President Trump and the men and women wearing that uniform. God bless each and every one of them. But
Yes.
I take a pleasure in seeing it because in 40 years of doing this job, people always want to say, why are you so emotional when you testify? Why are you so emotional on network? Because if they wore my shoes for 40 years, they'd understand why I'm emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to little girls as young as 9 years old, or raped multiple times by the cartel members.
Yep.
When you get to your knees and you talk to that little girl and everything innocent and pure has been ripped from her.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to Laken Riley, 17 minutes, that young lady fighting for her life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just think, okay, a young woman died. Think of how she died. The terror that she went through. And these children are sexually assaulted. I stood in the back of a tractor trailer and 19 dead people at my feet that baked to death. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. And so every sick person we take off the streets, especially child rapists, it makes this country
Look at his face when he say
much
that.
safer. Every illegal alien we arrest, public safety threat, one at a time makes
Took
this
away
country
her
safer.
innocence.
But I got one thing I need to say real quick before I leave.
Take your notes from me, Tom.
Take my notes from me. I'm going to read it. I don't want any misinterpretation when I'm reading it. The registration requirements under 8 U.S.C. 1302. If you're illegal alien in the United States, this message is for you. You cannot hide from ICE. We're actively looking for you. Federal law requires every alien in the United States who has been present in the United States more than 30 days needs to register. For those 14 years or older, you need to be fingerprinted with the Department of Homeland Security. Federal law requires every alien in the United States to tell DHS in writing if you have a change in address within 10 days of changing that address. Failing to register with DHS and failing to tell DHS about your new address are criminal offenses, and they're going to be treated as such.
Yep.
Starting today. Make no mistake, if you're in the country illegally and you fail to do what the law requires, we will prosecute you, you will go to jail, then we'll deport you. Second law, penalties for failure to depart, 8 U.S.C. 1253. If you're an alien inside the United States who has a final order, this message is for you. If you have a final order, the Trump administration is committed to enforcing our immigration laws, especially for those aliens who have received final orders of deportation. There are currently around 1.4 million illegal aliens who have been ordered removed, but remain here in violation of the law. We will aggressively prosecute, consistent with long-standing law, those aliens for failing or refusing to depart, or who takes other related actions aimed at hindering their removal. You cannot open the door, you cannot answer our questions, you cannot open your car door, you're considered to evade law enforcement. If you fail to leave the United States after receiving a removal order, we can and will issue monetary fines up to $998 a day. Evading your arrest, knowing you have a final order or removal, is a criminal offense. We will prosecute, then we'll deport you. Get your affairs in order. If you're in the country illegally, work with ICE, go to CBP 1 Holman, and leave on your own. Because we have to find you, deport you, and prosecute you. You'll have a bar placed under you, and you won't come back to this country. You won't be able to come back on a visitor's visa, a tourist visa. If you have U.S. citizen child, can't petition for you. If you're in this country, well, you get your affairs in order and work with us and get yourself removed from this country. That's what the law requires, and we're going to enforce that law.
See, it would be
Thank you
better
so much,
for people
Tom.
to just work
You can
with
get back to work
ICE
now. Look, he's already leaving.
instead of
He's
being
got a
out
lot
there
to do, a lot of
screaming
illegal
and
to deport, but,
carrying on.
Thanks everyone for joining us bright and early
That's
this
it,
morning.
y'all.
As I
That's it. That's what he said. All you got to do is work with them. Okay? You can leave peacefully, voluntarily. You can be able to even come back if you want to the country. Why make it hard for yourself? Why go out there and be a part of all of this protests and burning down things, and because you got something to hide? You see, you being exposed. You exposing yourself. You rather have a fight and try to claim California to be Mexico? California belongs to the United States. That's not going to happen. You fighting a war you cannot win. So what I would say is just get yourself together. Go there yourself and just turn yourself in. They'll help you with whatever you need, information you need. If you want to be turned back to the United States as a citizen, they will work with you. But staying here illegally, committing crimes, is just going to make it worse. It is going to make it worse for you because they're giving you a chance. This is why they held this press conference. They're giving you a chance so you can become a legal citizen of the United States of America. Everybody had to go through the process. Some of us didn't have that freedom of choice. But they're allowing you to come to America freely as a citizen, get your paperwork in order, and that's it. As simple as that. Why are you burning flags and desecrating federal property, burning cars? Why are you doing that? You are not hurting nobody but you because they're going to find you. As Tom Holman said, you can run, but you can't hide. And they wait. And this protest is really making it even better for them to find you and take you in. That's how they was able to catch some of those criminals that had records of harming children and criminal records and stuff. They were able to find them. You try to hide in the crowd, but they're going to find out who you are. You can't put that mask on, they're going to take the mask off. Because eventually all that you hiding behind, those people are eventually going to fade away and it's going to be you there. Yeah, F ice. You're going to be standing there right by yourself. And that's when they're going to come and get you. Okay? You cannot hide from doing what is right to become an American legal citizen of the United States. And it helps benefit you more when you do it that way. You could come back and you can have the freedom that you want. You could go the benefit that you need to get. Working, hide in somebody's paid little bit of money, living in destitute or living with people crowdedness and just because you got a high, you don't want to live like that. You want to live and have the opportunities just like any other American, like you said, while you out there having your protests. I want to be a citizen. I want my rights. You ain't going to get no rights being here illegally. That ain't going to happen. You got to come through the right way. And that's exactly not only what Tom Holman said, that's what President Obama said. That's who was the president of the United States before. And so did President, what's his name again? Clinton. President Clinton said the same thing. Do I have to do a video and show you about what President Clinton also said about the illegal criminals coming into the United States? Nobody won't be coming here illegally. You have to follow the law. Laws are put in place no matter where you live. You still got to follow the law. You have a better chance here in the United States of America than anywhere else. All this running and hiding. Don't you want to stay somewhere and build your life and have the freedom just like any other American? But going out there destroying federal property and putting graffiti on the wall, cursing out ICE and saying all these things about ICE is not going to make it any better for you. I saw people jumping on cars, putting their life at risk when these people are being brought in by ICE. You mean to tell me you want to be that much of a criminal than to be a free man and woman in Christ? You want to be separated from your children like that? Because he said it's up to the parents. You know, if you have kids here, even if you got children here, we taking you. And it's up to the parent if you want your child to come with you. They're not separating families. So don't let these liberals and these crazy Democrats tell you that. To play on your emotions with the children. They not doing that. They take the whole family if they have to. But it's up to the wife if she want to follow you back to the country that they're going to be deporting you to. And your children. They don't separate the children, the family. They take the family as long as they willing to go along with you, they can go with you. And that's all I'm here to say. And I just showed you the video, so I just want to say, y'all take care. Have a great afternoon. I got to go and handle some things right now for this afternoon, and I'll be probably back with you later on if anything else comes along. So you all take care. God bless and be safe. Peace.